Okay, welcome to the Prima Advanced User Forum. This is Mike, and I will be the host of today's session. Today we'll be covering journals in the back office portion of Prima. Andrea is backing me up on the chat, so if you have any questions real time, she's there for you. I will be placing everyone on mute during the session, which should last about 15 minutes. Then we'll open the floor for questions. So let's get started. Journals are user or system-generated logs of activities that can be automated or manually entered. This is a convenient tool that can be used to target sales and marketing campaigns, as well as report on customer performance. Some common uses for journals are assigning internal tasks, setting reminders for meetings or sales quote follow-up. In support, we also use certain journals for researching system errors. The three types of journals are journal entry. Examples would be sales orders authorization, location updates, etc. In other words, if you want to see who made what changes and when, you would look there. System entry journals are used by support. For instance, if we're trying to see why an import didn't work, we would check there for errors. Today we'll be focusing mostly on the user entry journals, which can be used for reminders and assignments. In this case, the journals become tasks, so that term is used interchangeably. When you're assigning the journals to someone, they become tasks. So let's just take a look at creating and assigning journals. So journals can be created from within any module in Prima by just entering the Journal tab, then click here to add new record. So what I'll do, I'll go into our SOP module, and I will create a follow-up task for a sales quote. So I'll just find an outstanding quote. Go into our journals, and you see it defaults to user generated, so no changes needed there. All we have to do is click here to create a new record. I will assign an owner. Now the owner is always the person that the task is being assigned to. I will create a start date. Just use today. The end date we will leave blank. If you put an end date in there, it will close the ticket out. I'll go into that later. Subject could be just callback or whatever you like. You can enter any notes in the info field. Categories, as you see here, they can be customized by clicking on add item, and then you would enter whatever you want to name it. We do, however, recommend that you use the default of auto callback. This just makes following up a lot easier, and again, I'll touch on that when we get to that point. So right now we've assigned it to Michael, have a start date, subject, and a little info there for notes. Category auto callback. We're all set to assign this task. Just hit save. Now once created, the person who assigned the journal, again, is the creator. The person it's assigned to is the owner. Creators will always be able to check on the status of assigned tasks. So that's been assigned now. So let's take a look at how to access journals that has been assigned to me. So there's a number of ways to do this. The most common way would be to go into your dashboard, your default screen when you first go into Prima. This first tile here is actually my tasks. So if I double click into that, that's one way to get to your task. Once you're in here, you can use the blue bar to filter any way you like. So I set my default to show user entry so that I'm not getting anything not pertaining to my task. I don't want system entry or anything not pertaining to task assigned to me. So I save that. And if you want to modify a creation date, start date, and so forth, you can do that here. And I also left the status of outstanding is one of my criteria. And obviously any of the other fields are for your use as well, but today I want to kind of keep it as inclusive as possible. So once you have all of the parameters in place that you like, simply right click on this page icon and hit edit filter. At this point, you can name it whatever you like. Okay. You go back to your dashboard. You see now that this is called tasks or whatever you name it. So we can access our tasks through the dashboard. The other way to access them would be to go to General and Journals. Takes you to the same place. For the same filters, same functionality and everything. And as you know by now, you can always rearrange these columns any way you like. Right click and save settings. And that'll be in place for you next time as well. Okay. So once we're inside of a journal, just sort by date here, something a little more recent. Here we go. So let's just take a look inside the journal. Let's go over some of the fields here. Okay, this is what I was alluding to earlier, the follow-up button here. So if we had not assigned this as an auto callback, that button wouldn't be available. So if we wanted to extend this, we would have to create a new journal. In this case, we just hit follow-up, enter the company contact, whomever you're going to contact within that organization. You can change your subject and enter any notes. And set your next callback date. And this will keep that task alive for you. Now just keep in mind, all of these fields must be satisfied or you will get a pop-up not allowing you to save. Just keep mind of that. We'll save. And you'll see that the notes have been added here in our history. So let's touch on some of the classifications over here as well while we're in there. So all of these can be added within admin. So if we know that this company is a medical supplier, we'll add that classification. And just say you want to make a note, they're currently buying from Walgreens and CVS. Other classifications can be added as well and customized. It's same with the contact classifications. If you can go into admin and add purchasing manager, sales manager, owner, and so forth. Their contact information will be here. So we've touched on the follow-up field. Let's go to the next buttons here. Jump to module will take you to whichever module this task was assigned from. In this case, we're looking at a sales quote. So it's a good option to jump right into it to kind of refamiliarize yourself with the quote, the items on it, and so forth. Takes you right there. Jump to company detail. Jump to company, I should say. Will take you to the company detail. So here's our journal within the company, and we go to our main page. Again, just to get reacclimated with the customer, contacts and locations and so forth. Anything on contract can be accessed here. And lastly, in this module, we can also do a price check. So if it's an existing customer, it will show you a history of items purchased and the prices. If it's a new customer, it will simply bring back the pricing from any mailer or any contract. Obviously, once the task is complete, we can just hit the complete button and save. That will remove it from your outstanding task. You can still search for it by filtering by completed task. Refresh, and that'll be gone. So I like to go over a scenario where we can make mass changes for perhaps maybe a sales campaign or something like that. if you have a sales campaign and you want to target back to school, educational customers, instead of going through hundreds of lines, I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few clicks. So we want to start with our company module. From there, go to our contact grid manager. You may recognize that cogwheel that always indicates grid manager. So we're going into contact. Once we're inside the contact, obviously you have a wealth of search criteria available to you. You can target a business group. But again, for today's session, we're just going to kind of keep it as all-inclusive as possible. The main thing we want to focus on is the CRM query, not selected. So we're going to select one by clicking on that. And if we go to our drop-down, there are several pre-coded fields available for us. I'm going to go with that first one, but feel free to go in there and play around with each of them to see which one pertains to your task. So this one says companies that have not spent X amount of dollars in X amount of days after spending X amount of dollars. And we can change those presets. So I'm going to go companies that have not spent $25 in the past 120 days after spending $20 in the past 18 months. Well, let's say 24. We're going to apply that. You see that that has changed from not selected to the actual query that we selected. From there, we will search. 130 results return. So instead of going through 130 customers to make these changes, we can just go to our Change tab here. And we see our criteria put in. All we want to do is select Create Journal and Assign to Account Manager. So you don't have to manually go in there and assign account managers. These will automatically be assigned to whomever is listed as account manager within the company profile. So it's imperative that we are addressing that when we're setting up customers, because a lot of reports, commission reports and sales reports, obviously, as well as grid designer functions, will be based on whom is assigned as account manager. So make sure we're addressing that when we're setting up customers. So we can change our category here to auto callback. You can type over the subject as well as the notes, or leave them as is. And just like that, we just hit apply. And we've updated 130 records for task right now, just that easily. So while we're on the subject of making things easier, let's touch on how to do a bulk change status, as in, I want to mark these all as complete. So I'm in my Journals tab here. I can select as many as I like. You can always hit the Control button to deselect. And I want to complete all of these. I'll hit the Complete button. Shows you 14 selected. But let's say I want to keep these open for follow-up. I'll highlight these. Complete selected journals. Confirm 11 journals completed. These remaining 3, however, I want to follow up next Tuesday. So I'm going to change the start date on those. And those 3 journals have been updated. They will remain active in my outstanding task list. So that's pretty much it. That does conclude our forum for today. I hope this information comes in handy. I will be posting the video on YouTube later for viewing, and we will open the floor for questions. Okay, so I've sent a request for everyone to unmute themselves if you have questions.
Thanks, Mike. Is it possible to share your screen again, just for...
Absolutely.
Question from Robert about the exporting of the journals.
Mm-hmm. You guys got a visual?
Yeah, if you could just expand it as well, that'd be great. Thank you. Could you go back to the company contact grid manager again? So Robert just asked about exporting the results from that.
Okay.
Oh.
So let's just do a CRM query again.
Uh-huh.
Apply and search.
And then I don't think you can export to Excel from here, but you can if you use the no, we can't do it from there either, sorry, but if you use the change tab, you can if you link to SalesI or MailChimp, you can send the contacts to an address book from here.
By checking that box.
Yeah, so if anybody's interested in linking up SalesI or MailChimp, just contact us afterwards and we'll help you get that set up. And also, like Mike said, if you create the journal by ticking the create journal and assign it to the account manager, you could go and look that up in the journals lookup, and you can right click from the journals lookup in the screen behind. So once you've created the journals, if you close the grid manager, yeah, you can just right click from here when you've got the results you want and export that data to Excel.
It's taking a while because I don't have any filters on. Here we go. And from here, you just hit export to Excel.
Thank you. And also we've got a question from Chris Deadman, I think, which is, can we quickly review how to use the journal to track who and when a status change was made? So, you know, when you were mentioning about a sales order or a quote, you can go and view in the program generated tick box just to see what changes were made on a sales order, for example.
Or if we have to go into an actual, let's do that.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to get a lot otherwise if you search from the journal screen.
Oops. So you mean from within a sales quote? We want to look at changes from within there? I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so from within here, we go to the journals tab and we can look at our program generated. And that's not a good example because no changes have been made, so I'll find one. If I go into a completed one, I know it'll show some changes, so let's go in that. Okay, so from within here, we'll go to our journals, program generated.
Maybe a more recent one.
Yeah.
We do have an option.
Third time's a charm.
I was going to say, we have an option in the admin to clear out journals after 6 months normally. So that might be why.
So here's one here that is journals program generated. And if you highlight the line, it'll tell you exactly what was done here. So we have a new line entered by, and remember creation is the person who made the change. So it's going to be Andy, who made that change on 6/6 at 5:33, added a new line. Same thing here. That's outstanding. If I go to a completed quote, we can see who authorized it, or who converted it rather. Okay, nothing there. But that's the gist of it right there. Just going into the journals tab, clicking on program generated, anything captured, any changes would be listed there. Any other questions?
Got an enhancement request, so we'll put that forward to Steve, Jonathan. Oh, and Chris Stedman said, is that the same for a sales order? So yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, we'll go into an order here. All modules, you'll see that journal tab, and they all function the exact same way. So let's go to authorized. Here, again, our journals tab, program generated. Why is it not showing anything? Sorry, this is our test database. It's a little
Really
uncertain.
old one, Mike. That's why.
Oh, that's an old quote too. Oh, old sales order, I should say.
Yeah. The system ones do get cleared out after a while because obviously the database would just fill up otherwise
Sure.
with literally millions of journals.
Here's a good one. So it's a sales order. So again, it's identical. Just highlight on the line. We can see right here that Andy authorized this order on 6/4. Took a credit card payment same day. And it looks like this was copied from the original sales order here. So that's very useful as well. Good questions. Anybody else?
On that question that Jonathan just, it's not really, I suppose in a way it's outside the journals, but we have just accepted a slightly longer term job to bring all the email stuff, the email templates, if you like, into one place, and we're using a new control that will merge and will allow merging into Outlook or Gmail and possibly some other tools as well. Initially, that will be templates and emails, but tasks are actually the three things. They can just be open tasks, or they can be the standard task, which has got a date associated with it. But also, if you have a from and to, they become effectively an appointment or a meeting or something like that. So following on from Jonathan's question, we could then export those into your Outlook in this case. So yeah, that's something that's going to happen. Not that particular one, but the first phase of that's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 months. So you'll have template. And I know a few customers have asked about having templates for different types of emails from Prima. You have much better templates for authorized emails in the web store, but not from the back end in Prima. So we're bringing them all together. We've got a great control, which has got all the features that we need to do that. So that's been tested, and as I say, will appear in the next 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
Very nice.
Just one other thing I noticed, and Andrea mentioned on the emailing lists, we currently have available in the US .mailer and MailChimp, but there are some other email tools that are being used. So we are interested to hear what people are using. Particularly, there's a new one that we haven't actually had it live yet, but we think we're going to have it live very soon. It is available, but we haven't actually trialed it live, and that's HubSpot. So we can actually export a list to HubSpot now. We've done that in live beta trials or beta trials. So we are now about to do that with a live customer in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So once we've done that, we'll let everybody know, and then we'll move to the next phase of integration with HubSpot, because journals are quite often used for CRM, where you might create lists from Prima and CRM, but you want to do more advanced CRM within a third-party tool like HubSpot. But we do have callbacks, as Mike's just shown, so you can do an awful lot with the Prima journals, but sometimes people want to take that further with inbound marketing and stuff like that.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks, Robert and Jeff. Yeah, we do need to trial that now in real life. You're right, because both of them are asking me about HubSpot, and since we've done a beta trial, we want to move that to a real one now. Yeah, be pleased to trial it. Thanks, Mike. Really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions before we wrap up, guys?